If you have a minute, I'd like to tell you a bit about myself. The first thing you need to understand is that I am alone. I've been alone for a pretty long time now. I'm used to it. I'm content. Before I became more or less a hermit, I found that I had two passions in life. One was performing. Even today, when I find that I can't relate to others, I can still stand in front of them and make them laugh or surprise them. The irony is strong enough to taste, and it doesn't taste good. In case you're wondering, my second passion was a girl named Catherine, but I'll get to that later. I generally face the same day-to-day problems as every other person, except that when every other person gets stuck, they have their friends and associates to back them up. I don't. Now, I know that you don't want to hear me describe my admittedly less than fascinating lifestyle, so instead, I'll describe my day with a much more interesting allegory. I used to find joy in the company of others. Now I only have the company of myself. My attention is stolen by a green square on the other side of the room. I want to be its friend more than anything I've ever wanted. I decide to use the arrow keys to approach it. The square does not react to my approach. Does it not notice me? Or is it only pretending not to notice me? Which would be worse? Up close, I can see the green square is actually a door. I think we can be friends anyways. I decide to push the spacebar to move to the next room. Spotting a couple platforms up ahead, I decide to use the up arrow key to jump over them. Take that, platforms. I decide that Mr. Door is a better friend than the platforms. I also note that I can pause the game or escape at any time. But now that risk is involved, jumping on platforms doesn't seem as easy to me. I start thinking about how awful it would be to fall. Luckily, I know that I can push the R key at any time to restart a level. I find myself proud of and possibly surprised by my ability to leap over harrowing gaps. Even from back here, I can tell that the ledge ahead is too high to jump. But I begin to wonder, what would happen if I pressed the spacebar before I complete a level? I feel confused and a bit tingly, but mostly just confused. I briefly attempt to think of something to think. Nothing worthwhile emerges. I haven't talked to anyone lately, but at least I can solve my own problems. Geronimo. I see a wall blocking the path to the exit, and I am dissatisfied. This area down below is irritatingly spacious, but I think to myself, the best course of action is to pull this lever by pressing the A key. I am grateful for my above-average ability to work alone. I notice a strange force field in this room and become gradually more and more curious. I find myself unable to comprehend the purpose. It doesn't seem to block me at all. Understanding the force field, I noticed that this room's field is greenish instead of pinkish. Staring at this worthlessly large staircase, I reflect on my past struggles. Luckily for me, no one was watching as I hopped around like a crazy person. I searched for reasons why I don't desire companionship. I settle on avoidance of the issue. I can clearly get by without others anyways. But I find myself unable to leave the question alone. Why can I not be with people? I instantly notice how similar this room looks to the previous one, and feel cheated until I realize that my previous tactic will not work again. It doesn't take long for me to understand that I'm going to need some timing to get through here. Almost there. I've gotten used to the idea of solving mental problems, but I still enjoy a test of my physical abilities here and there. I think back to the first day that Catherine and I met. Our paths converged, and suddenly we were a team. This was before I was as reclusive as I am today, so I had not yet learned to truly multitask yet. That skill evolved from necessity. Her approach was quiet, as was my response. The connection was instant and unmistakable. A team. Mutual. Perfect. I wasn't ready to let it go. When we faced a problem, we would solve it together. Today I find myself solving the same problems alone. I was underappreciative, plain and simple. Didn't understand just how much I needed her, how much she needed me. It was perfect. Everything. It was all perfect. I helped her, and she helped me. Mutual. I never suspected the end to come so quickly. I found myself crushed by guilt. I didn't leave the house for days, but she was gone. And now I find myself alone. I can't handle talking to people anymore. Internally, I visualize an overexcited man yelling, "Checkpoint." I grudgingly consider how the ability to start over from a different perspective would have been helpful earlier in life. Maybe I could have let Catherine not meet me in the first place. And like this, I continue. What? Don't leave yet. I have more to say. I really do. Are you really leaving? I've been tasked with psychoanalyzing Jack after his mental breakdown. In general, he recalls his life very accurately. The things he says line up with all the records. The first problem is that he doesn't seem to remember any of my visits. I've talked with him once a week for the past 8 years, and he always tells me the same things as if we have never met before. He describes himself as a loner, and this makes a whole lot of sense, as he has been kept in solitary confinement for the duration of his stay at the hospital. He always briefly talks about his life, and eventually gets into the story of how he lost a loved one, Catherine. He understands that she has died, and he certainly feels at least somewhat responsible, but he doesn't recall that he murdered her. She was found buried in their backyard in a green package. Evidently, it was the only box large enough for use as a coffin that Jack could find. Also of note were the 2 flowers that he planted next to the makeshift grave. He considers her death to be the reason that he can't talk to people anymore. I suppose that, in a way, he is correct. This will be my final report on Jack. I don't find any reason to believe that he will recover from his current state of severe mental illness, and he is far too dangerous to himself and others to allow his release. The end. So, after recording this video, I decided I wanted to come back to the title screen. For one, just to... that soft piano in the background is just perfect. It's solemn. It's a little bit mystical. It's questioning. It's just... perfect background music. And the other reason is that I don't have a channel trailer yet to put on the front page for new visitors to come and watch, and I decided, you know what? This game will make as good a channel trailer as any, because I'm sure you didn't fail to notice that the main character is also named Jack, but it's more than that. I can empathize with this Jack in a lot of ways. I haven't lost a loved one, and I haven't had any great loss in my family that would cause such an isolation, but at the same time, I spent a lot of my younger years in just the grip of social anxiety, unable to talk to or relate to anyone, and I still have a lot of those problems that it's difficult to relate to people sometimes on any kind of personal level, but at the same time, I can still talk to someone and surprise them and make them laugh. And as the game so poignantly pointed out, the irony is strong enough to taste, and it doesn't taste good. So now that you've seen some amount of my character, I'll go ahead and talk a little bit about the channel. This is probably going to be a Let's Play channel of some kind. I don't want to say any of the big famous names because it would be preposterously prideful to even compare myself to some of the big name stars in YouTube, but you know who they are. Though I aspire to be a little bit like that, like a little bit equal parts fun walkthrough gameplay, game review, a couple real life comedy skits going in, just entertainment. I want to entertain people, whether that is through comedy and laughter or something engaging in a different style, like the company of myself. I want to provide entertainment. I want to make the world a happier place, one confused smile at a time. But I know that in this world time is precious, so I won't take up too much of yours. So I'll go ahead and sign off for now. You have been here with me, just one man named Jack, trying to make the world a better place, one confused smile at a time. But my curtain is calling to me, so I must bid you all adieu. But I hope that I'll see you next time, right here, on the dark side.